Welcome back to Crypto Front. This is the front line where we are fighting together side by side for financial freedom. It really hasn't been easy over the last few days because we have seen the market all together, not just ICP, going towards the downside, and of course that has created a lot of panic and of course a lot of negative sentiment here on the ICP price as well as other altcoins, to be honest with you. So when I take a look at the chart one more time and try to see what really happened over the last few days, because during like the thick of the moment, it's kind of very much difficult to make any sort of decisions and really get a clear and objective analysis of where the price is right now. So I had mentioned in my last two updates, the one before the Fed meeting and the update after that, look, I was also looking at a scenario in which ICP was going to be dropping to right around $4.20 or something like that. Obviously, ICP went as low as like $4.01 or maybe $3.99 or something like that. However, I think this was still in the bounds of the spring that I was talking about. And for full context, I was talking earlier on about a Wyckoff accumulation pattern, which would look like something like this here, where you've got phase 1, phase B, phase A, phase B, phase C, phase D, and then phase E. Obviously, this is where you see expansions and you finally escape this whole trading range. When we come back here to ICP, we see almost the same structure right there. The good thing right now is that we had talked about this before it actually happened. Of course, yes, I was mentioning a lot of bullish scenarios pointing towards the upside, but also really emphasizing that this was not going to be a surprise. It's really part of the bullish scenario that we would see a quick sweep towards the downside here, because this is usually something that happens with this Wyckoff accumulation pattern. So it's okay to see it right now. The big question mark then becomes, are we going to be able to hold this low right around $3.99 or maybe $4 we can say, and start pushing towards the upside? Once again, as you can see from this Wyckoff accumulation schematic, this is what usually happens, right? You come back to test the lowest level right around where you would say the low of the selling climax here. We hit almost the same level there with ICP, even dipping slightly below. That's also very much common. So if this is going to be the low for ICP, we now need to start to see the price go up and not setting a lower low compared to that level, because once we do something like that, that's not going to be looking too good, and the chart then becomes very much ugly. It's going to take probably a long time to recover from there. So my fingers are definitely crossed that this is the low, and according to that Wyckoff accumulation pattern, once again we have hit all the extremes, and slowly but surely we see the price rising towards the upside once again. Now this may be like a crazy concept altogether to a lot of people, but these things have actually happened time and again in the past. This is a quick example of Chainlink, and you can see that there was this massive Wyckoff accumulation pattern that took over 400 days to complete. Now for ICP, we are slightly above 200 days in terms of that accumulation, but I think even with this Chainlink, one biggest takeaway is that there was this flash towards the downside. I was talking about it in previous videos as well, saying that we usually come back to the selling climax here, maybe dipping slightly, and that's exactly what you saw happening right there. So I would say ICP has got a chance of making a recovery like what Chainlink was doing, and start rising slowly but surely towards the upside right there, meaning that $4 was probably the low there. Now I want to give you a quick example of something like that just happened, and this is the Bitcoin price. Again, you notice here that you're in a net downtrend, then you have got this kind of ranging that happens. Just remember, this is a 5-minute chart. On the ICP price, we have got a daily time frame, but the structure of course is still one and the same thing, where you see that you hit your lowest point here very much close to the selling climax, and then that marks the low. So fingers crossed that ICP also starts pushing, just as we saw with the recent example like Bitcoin, right? However, I was also giving another much better example here on a daily time frame, not on a 5-minute time frame. This is ZBEC. What we saw with ZBEC was it was accumulating for some time here. Then when it was time to go out, it had what we call wrong footing of everybody, because you can see that there was this massive crash before it actually started pushing. So that was marking the low as well, but if you go back and try to see where it was, that's exactly also where the selling climax was right there. So this springs in a Wyckoff accumulation pattern can be very much deceiving, in the sense that everybody is going to be saying that this is where the world is coming to an end for a certain altcoin. Especially for ICP right now, I think a lot of market participants are saying that when it dips below $4, that's it's dead, it's gone. Caffeine AI would be a failure. even though it hasn't been fully launched, but we'll see about that. So this flash crash that I was talking about, Zebek, the last one, the very last one, the spring before the whole thing started pushing towards the upside, was actually a drop of, I think it was maybe 40% or something like that. Yeah, you can see 38 minus 38% right before it actually eventually, pumped as high as like 900%. So these are the things that happen time and again in crypto, especially if you've got Wyckoff accumulation patterns like these ones. The end is quite very much deceiving. But I think I would give you one more example of something like that also in the past. This is XRP, and you see on a daily time frame it had this accumulation. This range was very long. I think this was as high as like 500 days or something like that. But take a look at how the whole thing eventually ends there after grilling everybody and making everybody give up on the price. It just has this crash towards the downside, which is as high as like minus 51%, then quickly recovers. It pushes towards the upside. If you think that this was just a glitch or somewhere in the system, no, it was not. You see this on pretty much all the exchanges: Kraken, Bitstamp, even the all-time history index of XRP. You're going to be seeing this minus 57%, and it gets bought up very much quickly. So these are some of the things that happen with Wyckoff accumulation patterns, and also looking at where ICP Internet Computer price is at this point relative to what these Wyckoff accumulation patterns look like. It's looking like there is a very, very good chance that we see some kind of a recovery start to show up right there. Now, obviously, I have been somebody who has always been optimistic here on ICP, and I still don't feel the need to go ahead and start panicking and say, well, everything is pretty much over, or I don't want to be coming here and giving you different scenarios that say, oh, if this happens, then this will not happen, and then if this other one happens, then you say, no. My position is very much clear. I'm very bullish on ICP, and what I'm doing right now is trying to look for things that can justify the price staying bullish, at the same time being level-headed, because I don't want to be just going with the winds or trying to get views. I will tell you exactly what I believe here on ICP, whether the whole analysis turns out to be wrong or right. But as you saw with previous Wyckoff accumulation patterns, including even the very latest one that we have here on the Bitcoin price, although it is on a 5-minute chart, you see pretty much all those phases one more time. We saw it with Zebek and even XRP back in 2015, 2014, before a lot of people were even here, or maybe a lot of people were born, by the way, but it is what it is right there. So Chainlink, also a very much good example. And today we are here with ICP, waiting and waiting with fingers very much crossed to see what eventually happens right there. But I think we're going to be, thriving, and I think we will all make it towards the very end. But I want to thank you so much for watching the video. If you could, please delicately tap the like button. If you want to be seeing more of these ICP updates, please subscribe. And then of course I will see you on the next one. Take good care of yourselves. Bye bye.